Ramsey, good evening.
Hey, Jim, how are you?
I am peachy keen, buddy. Peachy keen. So how's the weather over there today?
Audio. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, great. Finally, I got my screen up. I'm on my desktop, so a lot better.
Yeah, good deal. So,
Oh, my buddy Joey, who is a partner with us on Real Focus, is joining the call. I invited him. I hope you don't mind.
no, I don't mind at all. As many as you want.
Awesome.
So he looks like he's in a nice sunny spot.
Yeah, it's not too bad here, Jim. How you doing? Nice to meet you.
I'm doing real good. Where are you at, Jose?
We're in Panama City Beach, Florida.
Oh, that's horrible. That's absolutely horrible.
It's definitely can be worse. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's a beautiful area down
there. I added Joey and Brandon, our other business. Me, Joey, and Brandon are the three guys involved with our company, Real Focus, and I added them to the GOB network. And we've been constantly just on it for the last couple of days. It's awesome. So I can't praise you enough for inviting us onto that.
Well, I'm glad that you guys are getting some value out of it, and we're excited to have you guys on board and see how we can add some value and get you guys closer to where you want to be, and then be able to also at the same time give back to the platform and help other people.
Absolutely. So the last time we were speaking, Jim, you were talking a lot about our properties in Shreveport. I wanted to give you a little update. We switched management in 3 days, and we're going to see how that goes. And hopefully the new manager can help us perform. He's already made a couple of recommendations about bringing the apartment complex up to the standard for Section 8, because it seems like that area is a Section 8 play. And me and Brandon are going to take a look at it and see what it costs and see if it gives the return before we put it on the market and sell it for loss, see if we can actually make it perform. And on that note, one of the properties we were looking at in Florida, it was Joey, was it a 58 unit property we're looking at in Florida?
Which one?
The Arco place in Jacksonville.
I believe that one was a 66 unit.
So halfway between 1 and 100 units, Jim, we were looking at. And the conversation came up that a lot of the tenants, not a lot, I would say, let's say 30% of them were on Section 8. It was a C-class neighborhood, borderlining D-class neighborhood. So it did have government subsidies. The numbers worked out for us, but we were concerned about Section 8 being able to add value because it had, government subsidies in it. And there was a couple of apartment complexes nearby that had been completely renovated. I mean, beyond what I would think the neighborhood would bear. And I think what we assessed was right. They over renovated and had a lot of vacancy, couldn't tell if they had a lot of vacancies. They definitely had a lot of apartment complexes on the market for rent, and the rents weren't much higher than the ones that we were looking at buying. So I guess the next question would be, we've had quite a few deals sent to us: student housing, Section 8, a hotel. None of them really what we were looking for. This is these different like stray voltage opportunities, and we're saying no to them because they don't necessarily meet the criteria we're out to get. But what are your thoughts on that? Are you more of an opportunist, or you say stick with your guns on what it is you're looking for?
Well, first off, if you guys have defined a criteria already, then share that with me before I give an opinion on what you should do. I'd like to know what you want to do and what you think your focus is. And has there been discussion amongst the three of you? Are you all in 100% alignment, or do you guys, one person wants to pursue one thing and another, and and how does all of that fit together?
So I would say we generally agree with each other. we don't discount any idea. It usually makes it to the table as something worth looking at. But our criteria has been 20 to 200 units. Realistically, for our first one's going to be 100 units or less, just based on capital raise alone. But we want to be in that 20 to 200 unit range, class B and C properties with value add. And I think that probably defines just about every syndicator there is out there.
It does, but only because it really, even though, guys, that sounds really specific, it's really not.
Yeah.
If you dig into it a little bit, you know, just from unit size, that can be really broad. And from B or C, as you have probably already figured out, just within C class, there are huge swings in the C minus to the C plus. And then you add B on top of that. Also, you know, where you're looking, I don't remember, did you say specifically an area?
Yeah, anywhere along the I-10 from pretty much Pensacola to Jacksonville, predominantly Jacksonville, Tallahassee, but Joey is out of Panama City. I own properties in Panama City. So anything that comes up Panama City will be looked at with a much closer eye, because it's just we know it, he's local, it's easy.
Okay, that to me is though a lot more specific. You know, saying I-10 corridor. Now, the other partner is in Louisiana, correct?
Correct.
And let's see here.
And that's North Louisiana, so he's not really along the 10 at all.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Realistically, Jim, we're looking at a mid-grade C-class property between 20 and 80 units for our first deal is a realistic expectation for what.
Okay. So the other piece that I wanted to talk about was the value add. So what does that mean to you? When I say that, what's the very first image that comes to your head, Ramsey?
Renovations, not repair.
Okay. So we're talking a renovation in what regard? To which piece?
Something that is in an area that is seeing growth, but the renovate, like whoever owns the property does not have the capital to be able to bring it up to, I guess, modern day expectations of that area. So they're not able to bring it up to, I don't know why I can't think of the word, but they're not able to update it to what the market could bear for rent.
So Joey, what is that when the very first thing pops in your head when you say value add?
So, you know, it's a moderate lift for us. The things that renters are going to expect to already have inside of a home, such as a roof, you know, air conditioning, and, you know, hot water heaters and things of that nature. That's not something we're so much I'll tell you, that's what we're not looking for. We're looking for those things to already be in place or still within their lifespan. But as far as the value add for us, it's just, you know, very much in line with what Ramsey just said, updating the finishes inside of a room. And then also being able to cut expenses and bring rents up to market comparables.
Okay, so what you guys described to me is what I would say is a very light value add. It's not in the strictest sense of the word. There's, you know, it can mean so much, right? So you can have a value add component that's just a management play, you know, reducing expenses. You could have a value add that's just bringing something up to market rents. You could have a value add where all of that's done, but your opportunity is because everything is 15 years, 20 years old, you know, is in regard to color scheme and flooring and, you know, things that we can make look much nicer. Or if you start combining a lot of those things, then we get into what I think is a true value add. But anytime you go into a situation where you have more than 10% occupancy issues, so you're in the something less than 90, whether it's physical or economic vacancy, it really doesn't matter to me. I think, you know, they're both going to present different challenges, but that becomes more of a true value add, something that's going to be harder to do. And that's what everyone is not looking for. Also, the unit that you described in Jacksonville, the 66 unit, you said that it had, I think, like 20% Section 8. And also, did you say that the vacancy was down on that one also?
No, it actually, it had decent vacancy for the area,
Okay,
but because of Section 8.
okay, okay. So that, because of the percent of Section 8, it's going to be harder to finance. And it's going to require a different type of property manager. My advice to you would be to find a property manager who knows how to deal with Section 8, and then make sure you are their most, what's the word I want to say? I don't want to say thorn in their side. What I want to say, you want to micromanage them in the beginning. You want to push them. You want to set a much higher standard for them. So just because someone's on Section 8 does not mean you cannot set very high standards, you know, for their ability to pay, for whether or not they have a job, for how many places they've lived in the past 10 years. You know, you can set a lot of very high barriers to entry to ensure that you're getting very good tenants. And I will tell you that Section 8 does not mean there is absolutely no correlation between good tenant and Section 8 or bad tenant and Section 8. We have a perception, and the perception is wrong. You know, I come from a very poor background. I have lived in those neighborhoods, and I have been in those buildings. And I can tell you that most of the people are good people. It's when you do a poor job of managing that and allow the professional tenant to be on your property, that's when you start having problems. That's where all of the problems come from. Does it require more oversight? Yes, it does. It requires a keener eye. But I will say, if you get good at managing that piece, which really is not, there's really nothing hard about that, guys. You know, setting a certain standard and say, I won't, there is no, you know, we're not going to be one way with one tenant and one way with another tenant. You've got to be very strict about the guideline. You drop below the guideline, you don't get in. And then you have to be extremely observant of every rule that you have in place. And you have to enforce that rule every time. You cannot let anything slide, even for your very best tenant, because the word will get out very quickly. And you're protecting yourself. When you're doing that, all you're doing is what you should be doing on every property that you own. You should be doing these things. But because we have a tendency to lease to a different crowd of people, that generally we don't have to worry about near as many obstacles that could pop up, we get very lax, we get very loose, and we just let, you know, as long as it's humming along and it's paying us, we're happy and we're hands off. We don't have to worry about it. And when I say hands off, I mean from an asset management standpoint, not a property management standpoint. From a property management standpoint, you want to let them do all that heavy lifting, but you have to, especially when you're learning it yourself, have to be extremely plugged in to what they're doing every single day. And when you get good at that, I'm going to tell you that every deal you do after that, that's just market rate deals, are going to be, they're going to feel so easy to you. Your systems are in place that are bulletproof, if you will. And you should never have an asset that underperforms. Never. You should never have to worry about all of these property managers that don't live up to snuff and that are not performing for you, because you'll have a set of KPIs to measure, and you'll make sure and hold them accountable. You know, you'll be developing very, very good asset management skills. So I would argue to you, don't be afraid of that deal, but realize that it's going to be very different. And I own a very small Section 8 property, and most of my tenants are Section 8 here in the Rockford property that I have here in Illinois. And all I can tell you is that I've not had a single CDC letter. I've not had a single person ask me to delay rent, or that tell me they can't pay rent. And and meeting the standards, by the way, a lot of people think that they're going to come in there and constantly be nickel and diming you. That has not been my experience. It's been very easy. They haven't asked me to do anything that I would not have normally done anyway. They're just asking for a clean, safe place to live. And that's what you want to provide.
Yeah.
You know, so I wouldn't be afraid of those things. Here's the caveat. On any Section 8 deal, it's going to be more difficult to figure out the financing piece of it. Not because it's actually harder, just because I don't know. Okay, it would require some work on your end. And I would love to see somebody do that, because I have an interest in that kind of property. I think that they're undermanaged, and that if you want to talk about where there's opportunity, I think there's tons of opportunity in that class, because there's not a lot of good operators. But they have, like we have Fannie and Freddie, and we know exactly what to do to get market rate financing. They have somebody else doing something else. My guess is most of it's HUD, or if you get outside of Jacksonville, it might be USDA. And, you know, there might be, but inside Jacksonville, there's going to be the Urban Housing Development Organization that could probably give you a lot of good information. There's going to be TIF districts. There's going to be opportunity zones. There's going to be people on the local government that want to push affordable housing. And all of those people are your friends when it comes to figuring out how to do it. Say, look, I would love to help out. I would love to provide clean, affordable housing, but I've never done it. I need somebody to tell me, give me some guidance here. I'm in the woods and I don't know which way to go. You know, so you guys need to be my compass and tell me, who do I need to speak to? You know, and so that's one piece of that other. But as far as the rest of the markets, I would tell you that David, I don't know if you guys have dug into David Monroe's folder yet, where he's uploading every
CoStar
owner's, huh?
The CoStar reports.
No, the CoStar reports for the ones, yes, the CoStar reports for owner information. And then Daryl Murphy is uploading CoStar reports for market, you know, for market research.
You're talking about,
Brandon started filtering those, didn't he, Joey?
yeah. So David put in that drive, you know, every state, and then he breaks down by MSA inside of that state, and it shows every multifamily property owner, all the information from when it was last bought, what it sold for. And I think most importantly, I think it's actual owner number.
Yeah, it's supposed to give you, it's supposed to pierce the LLC and give you the actual name and phone number for the owner. Now that might not be his cell phone number. That might just be an office number, but you've got to start. You've got a place to start. And so that in and of itself is a gold mine. You don't need deal flow. You don't need a broker. You don't need anything. Now, if you want to speed up the process, you can employ a broker to actually, you can hire like a buyer's broker and have them do some of the work for you and say, look, I want you to call these 10 owners and make them an offer. And if it were me, I would have a conversation with David and see how much of that work David or one of the other commercial agents that's already on the platform, if they would be interested in doing that, because I would sell them on the idea that, look, if you'll do this, you call them so that I don't have to do it myself, and try to make them an offer on my behalf. If we win the offer, I'll pay your commission, but I want you to put half your commission back into the deal, just the way David's already agreed to do.
Yep.
So if they don't accept the offer, then guess what he's in a position to do? He's in a position now to say, well, would you consider, let's say for the sake of argument, the only reason they say no is your offer's not high enough. Then David, or someone like David, is in a position then to say, would you want to list it? So it's a win-win for him. If you buy it, he wins. If you don't buy it, he still has an opportunity to, he says, look, I have proven I can find you buyers. I brought one unsolicited with me when I asked you for the listing. So I think it's a win-win for both of you. Now I'll tell you that him and I have been working together with that kind of relationship. So he is going to have a limited bandwidth. So I don't know, if he'll take it on or not, but if he doesn't, there's, ask Daryl Murphy, or ask one of the other brokers. And right now I'm losing my train of thought as to who all the brokers are on the platform. And you could do the same thing with a broker that's not on the platform. You could take a local guy. Like, are you working with Bo Berry?
We are. Yep. I have a call
Okay.
with him on.
So I would, Bo is very active in that area. He knows the area very well. You can use someone like him. He already has that information if he wants it. So he may not be willing to work with you in that regard. You could fill him out for that, and I definitely would. But if he didn't, I still might go at that owner the same way. But I would start to really work that list. And what's great about it is you guys are boots on the ground. You do have a person there that can work locally with and go meet those owners and go walk those properties and have a much, much better feel. And I think an inherent huge advantage to someone that's trying to invest from somewhere else.
Sure.
I think Tallahassee. Go ahead, Joey.
I just wanted to say I got to jump. My wife's summoning me, so I got to go. But Jim, I appreciate the couple minutes I got to share with you. Hopefully you can jump on a call again soon. Ramsey, thanks for the invite, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, Joey. Good to meet you.
So Jim, I think with us, so the Section 8 thing, what I was talking about is we've had student housing, Section 8, hospitality. We've had almost everything.
Except for what you've been asking for.
Well, we've had what we've been asked for come across, but it seems like what we've been asking for, I don't know if it's just the market, but the opportunities seem to be in the areas, at least from outside looking in, that most people aren't playing around in. There's less competition in those areas because everybody who's sent us a deal that is just your straight lace, multifamily, long-term rental, they're asking cap rates that are 4 and 5 or whatever in a market that's typically 6 or 7 or it seems like everybody it's a seller's market, but the ones that actually seem to have decent underwriting are the student housing and the Section 8 stuff, the stuff that ain't nobody really wants to deal with.
Right.
So for us, what I do have experience in is the short-term rental area. And I've got a team in Panama City Beach. I've got the setup in Panama City Beach. I've got a damn good realtor. I've got a girl who was with me from day one when I started, who became my property manager. It was her idea to make them short-term rentals. She took me she doubled my income just by subleasing and short-term renting my apartment complexes. She then put together a team of girls that are there, the cleaning turnover. She started a cleaning company, a laundry service, and she's now the most active in Panama City Beach. She owns Panama City Bed and Breakfast. So in Panama City Beach, the short-term rental game, that's my little niche. And we're trying to buy this hotel there, a deal that came across, a 17 unit, call it a micro hotel. Really what the guy's doing, he's renting it weekly, kind of slumlording it, right?
Mhm.
But the problem is financing. Like every bank that we talk to, they look at it as hospitality in the middle of a pandemic, which is true. But if you read a single article, there's a phrase they call it pent up travel. Short-term rentals right now are making 2 and 3 times what they normally do, because everybody who's been pent up throughout COVID is sending it. They don't care what it costs. They just want to get out of the house.
Yeah,
And
I agree with you in regard to, I've been feeling the same undercurrents, but I've been feeling it primarily in, not in the room rental category, but in the you're renting the entire home. I know that particular piece of Airbnb is on fire and in very good destinations. I haven't been hearing the same thing though in the room rental, so I don't know about that. But
so,
but you guys are in the space, so you know what's going on in that market.
yeah, so I mean, what I was able to afford and I was able to do at the time was all these little 1 bedroom, 1 bath apartment complexes.
Mm-hmm.
Bought up 9 of them. I bought a 7 unit apartment complex and triplex, but the triplex is a 3 bedroom, 2 bath house with 2 little 1 bedroom, 1 bath cottages on the back. So I short-term rent those, and I short-term rent the 7 unit, which is all 1 bedroom, 1 bath. They stay booked. Now we're talking $65 to $85 a night, but when you do the
Mm-hmm.
math on that versus $700 a month in rent, I mean they're 80% occupied at $75 a night year round, and the income chases the thermometer, right? If it's hot, so is the market. If it's cold, so is the market. But the occupancy stays about the same. The price just goes down. So I have made my nut in Panama City Beach off of short-term rentals, and I know this little micro hotel, like in my heart of hearts, I know I can make it work. I know I know the
So
return.
what financing is on it right now, Ramsey?
What do you mean?
Is this being offered to you through a broker, or are you dealing directly with the owner?
So the owner himself, for lack of a better term, he's been the biggest pain in the ass for the whole project. We had this under contract, 1.1 million. The owner lives there. He got cold called by a broker who represented him. Well, whenever I made the offer with a $5,000 EMD on a $1 million property, and they accepted it. I guess what happened is that the seller realized that he signed a contract on 0.005% EMD, and he got mad about that. I didn't know. I didn't think it was a bad deal. I mean, but so we went through it. We had all these contingencies. Basically, we needed to see T12, we needed to see the rent roll, we need to see everything. Well, he doesn't have a lot of that because he runs it as a weekly rental, and because he signed it and we had all these contingencies, like we were going to the bank with paperwork that just wouldn't hold water. They're
Mm-hmm.
like, this is some dude's notebook on how much he makes. There's no bank statements. He didn't do his taxes the way he ought to, right? So everything was just red flag after red flag on the financials. I brought together all these market reports, took in a bunch of industry professionals and ran comps, and we did everything and got the banks to agree. Well, this is the middle of COVID, right? And we had one bank willing to finance it with construction, and they included the furnishings as well. Well, right before 2 weeks before we were supposed to close, that bank got hit by Hurricane Laura in Louisiana, of course. And then their voting committee backed out because they weren't going to send money for construction out of state when their hometown needed the repairs that it needed. Because of that, we were not able to meet the financing contingency, and we had to pull out of the deal because the money was going to go hard, and we had literally no financing lined up.
Mm-hmm.
All the local Panama City banks weren't willing to finance it because all of their construction money went towards repairing Hurricane Michael. We had Eastern Union, which is I guess a rather large financing company that you can get online. They weren't willing to do anything in the hospitality industry. Honestly, anytime somebody sees the hospitality industry, the lenders, right now, because of the pandemic, they don't want anything to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually just put that on GOB. Anybody willing to lend in the hospitality space? Because I got a deal that is a good deal.
And we're still talking about the same opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So
17 unit Panama City.
So let me ask you a question. What do you think the true value of the property is? Is it 1.1 million based upon how it's being operated?
1.357. There's I did the underwriting on it. And I did the underwriting based on current operations. And I even did, I added a $250,000 value to it because it has a vacant lot that comes with it, and we did market comparables on that lot, and based on the acreage and the location, it was worth about $250,000. So I think we came up to, it was worth 1.3 and a half, had it on contract for 1.1, and just the cash flow from making it a actual like Airbnb in all 17 units. A very conservative cash flow. I mean, I took the bottom, the least occupancy and the least nightly rent from all the market comparables that my property manager submitted to me, and it still performed very well. It was after renovations, and we got the dudes that are down there that do the renovations. Like, I know them. I've worked with them. They're good. So that's my biggest problem right now, because we're trying to do the syndication thing. This is like a joint venture size deal. So half of it seems like a distraction. The other half of it looks like, dude, this is a deal we need to do.
So using your Airbnb underwriting, does it come out to be worth the same amount of money? Is that the model you use to get to the 1.375?
No, I for the 1.375 used the current income that the guy claims. Okay. We were able to confirm that he gets about $1,200 per month per unit, but that's renting it with no deposit, utilities included, and weekly. Mm-hmm. So he rent, like Panama. You got to understand, Panama City has a lot of people who just work on cash. Mm-hmm. So bartenders, waiters. It's just that this is the tourist industry. So everybody gets paid cash, so they don't have very much W-2 income. So a lot of them, there's a lot of people in that area who do weekly rentals, and they kind of take advantage of the people who make a lot of cash money but don't have the ability to get credit. They don't have credit. Yep. That's what he's doing. But the other side of the industry is renting to the travelers, and it's more lucrative and it's nicer. And that's what I've done. I've done that to 2 properties down there, and it's just it's worth doing. So
did you value the property using your Airbnb model? And what does that value come out to if you did?
I would have to pull up my my underwriting. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you because it's been a while. Oh wait, actually I got it up. Let's see. One second.
And I've got a hard stop in 20 minutes also, Ramsey.
Okay. Do you mind if I share my screen with you?
Sure. Hold on just a second here. There you go.
All right. See if this makes sense. This is an Excel spreadsheet that I built. So this is current. Can you see that, Jim? Let me zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, I can't read it, but I can see it.
All right, let me zoom a little. Right there-ish. Okay. So, basically what this red box shows
Yeah.
is where he currently operates. All right, so
Okay.
this is cash flow, and what I'm showing is the red means losing money, the green means he's making money.
Okay.
This gray box is what he charges. So if you looked at, if he's at 85% occupancy at $330 a week, which is not what he charges. This is his range, right? He charges $300 a week, and he said he's about 80% occupancy. So he's making roughly $1,204, whatever it may be, after all expenses.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the next one is cap rate, because the local market cap rate is right at about a 10 cap for this style property. He's right on the edge of a cap rate, right? He's right on the range. And then same for cash on cash return. So this gray box just shows where he's claiming he operates. And then if we bought it with all of our expenses, and these are actual expenses based on market actuals, where it would operate. And the business valuation is at 1.268. And then after adding that additional lot, it ends up being 1.5. So at a $1.1 million purchase price, I assess that we're getting roughly $400,000 in equity. That's including the lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Going in day one.
Going in day one, yes, it'll perform if we. But I don't want to be in that business with weekly rentals. I don't. But renovating it, this is the curve after, and this red box shows you March through August, which is the hot season, $129 a night at 80% occupancy. And then September through February is the low end per night at 70% occupancy. Even at the very bottom left of the range that was projected from our property manager, and she's good, is well into the green for monthly cash flow, like $10,500 in monthly cash flow on a $1.4 million investment, because we assessed about $300,000 in renovations to get it there. And if
so I've seen enough to ask some more questions and see where we can go with it. So obviously this is you already know the area and you're already using this business model, and so you're convinced that this is a good deal, a good buy, and that you can do it. So it seems to me the only thing holding you up is the financing.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the type of financing that you had secured, describe that to me. What did it look like?
80% loan to value, 12 months interest only. I think we had I want to say we had a 5-year balloon on it. And, but they were, I don't know if they quite understood the hospitality industry. They were more looking at it as a multifamily property, which I think in the loan committee, when they got together, some of the more senior loan officers realized that, and we got like 3 out of 5 votes or something like that was good, and then the hurricane hit, and it was a swing vote, and they backed out.
So they were
Dealing with
looking
the
at it as a
same bank.
multifamily play.
I believe so. Like, I don't know what goes on in those loan committees, and one of the loan officers we were working with was a junior loan officer. I don't know. I don't know how that works, because I felt like I sold it pretty well, but.
So it was a recourse loan.
Yeah, recourse loan.
And who was going to sign on the loan?
It was going to be all 3 of us. We were actually going to do it as tenants in common, and there was a 4th person who brought. I was going to 1031 into that thing, but there was a 4th person who brought in some capital with us as well.
Okay, so do you still have that person? Are they still willing to come into the deal with you?
Yep, they absolutely are.
Okay, so they're bringing the capital.
Some of it. We all four were bringing in capital. As a joint venture, I was going to bring about 125, 75 from each of the other guys, and then 50 from the fourth person.
Okay, so you had all the capital you needed for the loan, and the rehab costs were in your capital, or that you guys, or was it in the loan?
So the loan included $300,000 of rehab and $50,000 in furnishings.
Okay. Okay, and no operating income, like 6 months reserve or anything like that built in?
We had, let's say we had 3 months expenses built into our operating capital. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right. So I think that the data that you've put together, I'm honestly, what was the interest rate? Did you tell me?
4.25.
Okay, so
Yeah,
very aggressive for this type of deal on the interest rate.
and that's what the bank was giving us. I was surprised.
Yeah. So on the property, give me just a second here. How did you guys find that bank? Did someone already have a relationship with them, or it was a referral, or?
Previously, we have me and Brandon have a baseball tournament business, which all of our operations ran through.
All your operations what?
Are ran through them, like they
Through that bank. So you have an existing relationship with them. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how long ago was it that they turned it down?
6 months.
And have you gone back to them yet?
They are voting tomorrow.
Oh, then you might have good news tomorrow.
We might. I swear to God, last week they were supposed to vote and a damn snowstorm in Louisiana happened. Like what?
Okay, so here's my recommendation. The bank that you do business with in Panama City, I'm assuming you run all of do you have a local bank in Panama City? You run all of your operations through there?
The 2 local banks I use they're capped out on construction loans because of Hurricane Michael.
But that was 6 months ago?
That was 6 months ago, and they got back to me, and it is still the case. The bank that we are looking at using is out of Louisiana.
So have you pursued an SBA loan or a small business loan or any of these COVID loans?
One of the original loans was dependent on the SBA approving the furnishings and the renovations. However, the timeline that SBA was going to take, and that might be worth revisiting now that you bring it up, the timeline that they were going to take was longer than the due diligence period that we had. So
Okay.
we kind of cut ties with them and went straight for the Louisiana bank because they seemed to be the most promising.
But did you actually do some due diligence on the property?
Yes, did pay for full inspection and had our contractors walk through it, put together quotes on landscaping, pool maintenance. Everything that's in the expenses column is based on actual quotes.
So how much was the purchase price was 1.1. How much was that purchase price and rehab?
1.1 was purchase price, total renovations. Let's see, we had 82,500 in exterior, interior was 162. The total renovations of 245 and then 51,000 in furnishings.
So you had a total loan amount of let's call it 1.4. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
1,396.
Yes, sir.
And you were getting 80% of that. Okay.
And I lied to you earlier. Our operating costs are going to go in the bank. We're coming from the capital raise.
Coming from the capital raise. Okay.
I think what it is, I just need to doll this up and bring it back to lenders.
I do too. I think you need to bring it back to all of the places that you've already been, but you need to take it to some other places. And whether or not you want to position it as a hospitality play or an apartment play is entirely up to you. But I would think with all of the COVID small business loans that are out there right now, that there has to be a position that you could take that like small business SBA will not loan on a rental property, but they will loan to a business that happens to have like a mixed use building, as long as you occupy the building. So I don't know what this building looks like, but if you could take one unit and make that, you know, your business, your place of business, and you know, how long you have to do that, who knows? 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, I don't know. But if that's what you have to do to get SBA to fund the entire thing, I would strongly consider doing it. You could run the property management business out of there and partner up with your, you know, property manager and say you're going to lease the space to her, you know, or offer to buy her business, you know, and partner up with her and start expanding.
I think they were willing to do the loan because it was looked at as a hotel, not as a rental property. So it's,
okay. But they were only willing to loan for the furniture, or that's all you asked for?
The bank I was going with was willing to do the loan at 80% loan to value for the purchase price if the SBA was willing to
back the entire loan, guarantee the loan.
I think it was if they were willing to fund the construction, renovations, and the furnishings.
Okay, all right. Well, I would definitely.
Like we didn't spend a ton of time on it because when I talked to the SBA lady, she was like, "Look, it's going to take us 45 days to even process this loan." I said, "Well, we're 10 days into a 45-day due diligence. It's not going to work."
Well, I would definitely look at that again, and I would structure my offer around how much time the SBA needs. But the SBA knows their loan products. They should be able to give you a thumbs up or thumbs down with 75% certainty. And you always have a financing contingency to back out again if you have to. But what I would do is I would try to take the most optimistic business plan, and I would underwrite it with a hard money loan, take the property down, see if you could get an additional discount to cover 6 months of that hard money loan. So if you can get a hard money loan, and let's say you can get it for 12%. And so I don't know how much that is. Let's, for the sake of argument here, what was the actual loan proceeds that you needed?
1.4.
No, I mean, that was the total, was 1.4. But you guys were getting from the bank how much?
1.15. So 1,115,000.
So you would need roughly $67,000 discount for 6 months of hard money interest. Now, most hard money loans, though, do have a 1 or 2% going in on top of that, because they know that you're going to try to get out of it as soon as you can. Most of them have a minimum, oftentimes 90 days minimum interest, you know, plus the points that you pay up front. Okay. But if you can get that much of a discount with a hard money loan, that allows you to go in and start proving your business plan right away. And then you could go back to a bank or many banks with not only a proven business plan with an improved property, but also with real financials instead of projections. In other words, you can get a construction loan based on pro forma, but it's much easier to get a loan when you've got actual real financials that they can see, and they're underwriting to real numbers.
I've talked to the two guys that I'm with about this, and we all kind of agree that like the biggest hurdle right now is the seller. And if we could just buy the damn property and get him out of the way, we could get moving on it.
Yeah.
And I think
So
you're
he's
right.
the hurdle because he was pissed off about the EMD, or he's creating other obstacles?
Put it this way, he kicked our inspector off the roof when we had a confirmed inspection time. Everybody showed up at the right time. I was on Zoom call. We were walking around the property, and he like kicked him off the roof, kicked everybody out of the house, delaying the inspection process 2 weeks. Well, what a 45-day due diligence period.
Mm-hmm.
So what I learned, Jim, and I'm sure you know this, but the inspection period may be delayed, but the 45-day due diligence period in which we had to close a loan did not get pushed back. So when we didn't meet that deadline, we were expecting him to extend because of the delay, and he did not. So our EMD, we went into litigations over the damn $5,000 EMD. I spent $800 getting $5,000 back.
Yeah. So what did you learn from that experience in regard to
have financing tight when you go in?
Well, that's one thing to learn. But another thing, what I just heard was your due diligence period had no contingency upon you having certain items in your hand and certain cooperations from the seller. So your LOI or your contract, one of the two, need to have, and probably your contract, not your LOI, because you don't want to scare them off right in the beginning. But when you're negotiating your contract, your due diligence period does not start until you have all the materials that you've agreed upon. And if he doesn't have them, then you have the option of saying, yes, I'm going forward, not him. Okay. And you are in a better negotiating position if he only gave you half of the items that you wanted and said he didn't have the rest. Then you at that point say, okay, all right, well, we'll move forward without those, but we're going to need to extend the due diligence period because now we're going to have to do a lot more forensics research. So we want an additional 15 days.
So what you're saying, Jim, is absolutely right about the due diligence period, but the contract deadline, like our due diligence period got extended beyond the contract deadline.
Okay.
So we never agreed that the due diligence period had started because he never got the stuff.
Right.
But what I learned, and I don't know if it's just Florida law or what, that the contract period doesn't care.
Well, that language is up to you though, Ramsey.
Yeah.
Just because they tried to force you into a particular contract does not mean you need to use that contract in the future. So just have those things in the back of your mind to protect yourself, especially if you go back into this deal, with something similar. But have those contingencies built in so that you are in control of that, not him, because you were acting in good faith. When he did not allow your guy on site, right there, that should have been a violation of the contract and should have allowed you to get something back from him. So he's in violation of the contract. And at that point, you should have had, at the very least, been able to walk away with your EMD money without any equivocation whatsoever.
That was the damn title company. They were like, we're going to send this off to a judge, and then essentially we never went into actual court. But I had to spend $800 on a lawyer to get to send off, to serve him, to get the letters. Anyways, but
anyway, what do you
lesson learned is we will have a 60 to 90 day due diligence period or contract period, and I want to do business days. It's 45
well
days.
A lot of times you will not win deals when you do that. So you want to be a little more sneaky is not the word, subtle in your contract language, so that if he doesn't perform anything, it just automatically triggers other things. You don't want to just say, I need to have all of these in place, because a lot of times that'll prevent you from ever getting the contract signed. But I'm running up against a hard deadline here. How do you feel about the hard money idea?
I'm open to it. I think getting, like you said, taking that property down is step one. And then I would offer him
I would take a worst case scenario for hard money. Okay. I'd take a best case scenario for what you think the property is going to be worth using your underwriting. You know, instead of taking that worst case scenario, take the best case scenario. Okay. And get back with me with those two numbers, and let's figure out, let's make him pay for that hard money loan under the worst case scenario. Okay. So it's not costing you anything because you're going to get that much of a discount, hopefully. And offer to close within 2 weeks. You say, look, we just want to pay cash. If you'll take cash, you don't have to worry about anything. And
Where do I get the hard money from?
I'll take care of that.
Okay. Hell.
So
Deal. All right.
So anyway, that's what I want to leave you on that. There's so much more we need to talk about. So
Absolutely.
just try to find some time that that we can get on the calendar. Just send me and let me know what it is. As long as I've got an opening, we'll go with it. But right now, I've got to go take a leak before my my 11 o'clock podcast starts. So.
All right, brother. Hey, I appreciate the time.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right. Bye.